Yay. That's a little disturbing. Let's go to the phone. Calling from a 210 area code. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Good afternoon, Sam. It's John from San Antonio.
John from San Antonio. Are you worried about those ads, John?
Not at all. No, those are very humorous, though. I want to thank you for pointing out my thread that I tweeted last Saturday morning on your Twitter feed. It concerned Bernie's lead in the latest Iowa poll from one of the most accurate pollsters around, Ann Seltzer. Since then, Bernie has had good polls in California, Nevada, and last night's Emerson College poll released in New Hampshire, which had Bernie leading Buttigieg by 5 points, which is Bernie's biggest lead in New Hampshire since early September. So there are 416 pledged delegates in California, and Bernie has a 3-point lead in both polls released this year. Warren had a lead in one of them in December. Biden had a lead in the other one in last November. So in Nevada, Bernie has a 1-point lead in the Myers Research poll, with Bernie receiving 29%, Biden 28%, and Warren trailing at a mere 11%. So Bernie has not fared very well in the Suffolk phone polls this cycle, but in this poll, Bernie is only 1 point behind Biden. One thing that will help Bernie this year is he's much stronger in urban areas where Clinton dominated in 2016. Democrats allocate delegates according to their strength, which are in urban areas. So if the polling is right and Bernie does well in urban areas, it will dramatically increase his chances of winning the nomination. So the viability of candidates, because they don't reach the 15% threshold in individual congressional districts and statewide, is one of the most relevant stories in the Democratic primary, but it's been largely ignored due to the unpredictability to gauge support in individual districts and the complexity of the subjects. Warren's average in the polls released in 2020s in Nevada is 12%. The question, will she receive any delegates in Nevada? She's also on the bubble in New Hampshire, where she's averaging 15% in polls released in the last month. In Iowa, her average is only 16%. And the latest delegate estimation from Bernie supporter and election journalist Doug Johnson-Hetlam has Warren receiving 304 pledged delegates after Super Tuesday, which is 21% of the delegates. Biden receives 43%, Bernie 34%, others 2%. So you said Warren was trying to get Biden and Buttigieg voters. It might be angling for a cabinet position.
No. It's not angling for a cabinet position. I never said that. My theory, it's just a theory, is that what she was trying to do, because I don't think that they're silly enough to think that they can dislodge Bernie supporters, right? Like, Bernie's support is very sticky, it seems to me. I think they were trying to convince Biden voters in particular, but probably some Buttigieg voters too, who have Warren as a second choice, but are afraid that she can't win or that she's not strong enough. And so they're going to go with Biden, because a lot of Biden support is about his ability to win. And I think she was trying to show that she is tough enough to go up against Donald Trump. And I think that was the play. I don't think it's successful. I don't think they executed it well. I think that, the theory might be good, but that's just a guess on my part. But it's not angling for a cabinet position. I don't think she's trying to appeal to Biden or Buttigieg. I think she's trying to appeal to would-be Warren voters who are supporting those two candidates.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, that's a pretty good assessment. But I mean, here's what I think. I think that if she's able to actually, receive the amount of delegates that she's projected to, she could be the ultimate kingmaker. She could simply ask her delegates to switch to Biden, and in return, she will be picked as the vice president. So I brought up this scenario earlier last year with Bernie, and I thought she would always be aligned with Bernie, and that this would be the scenario that would take Bernie to the nomination, or possibly when when Warren was ahead by so much in October that possibly it could go the other way. So I just think she's making a political calculation that Biden will win and actually help. This will help her cause.
But why do you think? How does that help? What she did help Biden?
Well, I mean, if she's going to get 21% of the delegates,
no. But why do you think what
winner.
has changed that makes you think that she A, thinks that Biden's going to win, and B, that what makes you think that she wants to be vice president in Joe Biden's cabinet?
Well, I think she wants to be vice president because she's hungry for power and she's extremely competitive, and I think she realizes that she can't win.
But why would you? Why do you think that she would? Why do you think that she would? Why do you think that she thinks that Biden's going to win? And if she can make or break Biden or Bernie, in which administration do you think that she would have more power?
Well, I used to think that she would be, she was with Bernie. I mean, that's what I used to think. But I mean, everything that she's done in the past week has shown me otherwise.
Well, no, and, she's trying to win. She's trying to win. But why do you think her second position? Why do you if this is her calculation? Do you think? Let me ask you this. Do you think that she's going to have more latitude and power in a Sanders administration or a Biden administration?
Well, it'd be in Sanders, the way that she used to be. I mean, the way her policy said, it would be closer to Sanders. There's no doubt about that. But I'm just trying to figure this out. And I mean, I've been discussing this for over a year on this show, and I've gotten a lot of negative pushback, and a lot of the people who have said basically that I'm not being enough of a Sanders supporter.
Oh well, but John, screw those people. Those people don't know as much as you. Nobody's been calling this show. You were calling this show 5 years ago. 6 years ago, talking about that what needs to happen with Medicare for All is that the candidate, wherever it is, you were talking in the context of Vermont when Schulman was trying to, that we have to be straight with the American public about taxes going up, but the costs going down. You're in position, you're in second position to no one in terms of your advocacy for Bernie Sanders. So you don't have to change your position because you're getting pushback from people on Twitter.
Well, my point is that in the end, perhaps they were right. Perhaps.
But I'm asking,
I never
what
saw
it
this
is
coming.
That she would go after Sanders in the way that she did.
Well, I didn't think that would happen. And I thought that, I just basically thought, these people are just being conspiracy theorists. They don't understand Warren's voting record. They don't understand the alignment. They're just attacking everybody who's against Bernie, and so that was my theory. But I mean, look what she did. I mean,
what did she do?
I'm trying to understand why she's doing this.
The best
besides
explanation.
Just being a bad move.
Right. I think it's a bad move, but she would have to be the world's. I mean, I think this was. I mean, there's only two answers here. One is there was no plan whatsoever. And she just felt compelled to tell the truth 8 hours after this story broke. I don't think that she leaked this story. It's possible that she was involved in the leaking, but I have a feeling it was probably more like people were willing to go on the record because they were upset about that other document. And they said the truth, the truth is off. And I'm sure there's people around Warren who, don't want Sanders, want Warren, and maybe they activated these people and said, go tell the truth. And maybe they didn't. There's only two answers. One is, there's some nuance to those two different answers. One is like part of it was planned and part of it wasn't, and this and that. But the bottom line is, I think it's safe to assume that at the very least, her response, her statement was a calculation. She could have easily said, I'm not going to reveal what was in a private conversation with Bernie Sanders. Why would I ever do that? End of story. I want to talk about the issues. I want to talk about unity. I mean, that it's very easy for her to have done that. So I assume that was deliberate, that she saw this opportunity, or maybe they planned this opportunity, whatever it was. And the opportunity is like, nobody could think that she's going to pick up votes from Sanders at this point on that issue. It's just not going to happen. And it was to create the impression that she is willing to fight for the people against anybody. And why would you do that? It is to convince those people who are supporting Biden or Buttigieg, because even though Warren's their second choice, maybe Warren's sort of their first choice, but they have reservations. It was to address those reservations. They probably have polling that shows something to that effect. We're not sure she's tough enough to go up against Donald Trump. In fact, you were reading a little bit about that the past couple of days in some of the corners of the political reporting. And so she was trying to display that. What better way to display that, right? I mean, how do they do this in every mafia movie? You need to prove that you're with us. Here's a gun, go kill your friend. Right? Like, that's what was going on there. The idea that she is a politician who is willing to be vicious, to fight and carry her agenda, is exactly what we want out of people. There's been plenty of those people who have been harassing you on Twitter, John, who have been saying like, Bernie's got to go after her. She's just, like a professional manager class, got to go after her. Like, to get involved in politics on that level of like, Bernie's feelings are hurt, blah, blah, blah. The bottom line is that her campaign people, and when I say her campaign, I mean her, but I also mean the staff that she's chosen. They thought this was a good idea. I think it was a mistake, not because it's going to hurt Bernie. I don't think it's hurt Bernie, and I didn't think it was going to hurt Bernie. But because I just don't think it's going to help her, and it basically lights, stuff on her campaign on fire, as far as I'm concerned. But
all right,
that doesn't mean that suddenly the intense dislike of Biden and what he stands for is a better path for her to follow down the road. I don't think either one of Biden or Sanders would pick her as VP. Now, maybe she can horse trade with Biden, but why would you go into the Biden administration as VP when I'm going to be fighting the White House every day? Maybe that's helpful, but
I mean, she's triangulating. She started to triangulate with Medicare for All. Now she's triangulating, going against Bernie to gain power. I mean, do you agree that right, if let's say it's 45-45 and she represents the other 10%, that she will be the kingmaker? Do you agree with that?
I think if she's in that position, I think she will be, yes.
Okay. And so, I just think that she figures that Biden will have more support in the South. The odds are with him just because of his support in delegates in the South. I was talking about viability before. What I'm hoping that her plan is going to fail because she's not going to be able to get delegates. That's what I opened the call with.
Okay, well, she might not get delegates. I just think that, I just don't see the evidence that if she's in a position to choose the nominee, all right, I don't know if she will be or not, but if that's the hypothetical, that it makes sense for her to choose Biden.
Well, I mean, I agree on policy. It doesn't make any sense, but yet look what she did. I mean, look what she did. You know, she raised money after having a story leaked, you know, on it, and then she put out this story, you know, 2 years afterwards, which I don't believe a word of what she said, and then she made a statement before the debate. Then she didn't shake Bernie's hands, and now she realizes, oh, I think I screwed up, and let's diffuse this all. And in the meantime, we have all these progressive, you know, I think there were 19 who want to promote unity, which is great. But I mean, the fact
John, just listen to yourself. Like, how? I mean, it's conceivable that maybe, you know, everything she has done, you know, as a senator, I mean, it's not uncompromised at different points. Of course it has been. Bernie had some compromises too, right? With the NRA and protecting them from liability. I mean, this is what politicians do. But on balance, you're putting like all of that work and you're stacking it up against, she didn't shake his hand, and she raised a story about Bernie, and I'm quite convinced she thinks that he said, I don't think a woman has a chance in this environment. And frankly, like, I don't think that's such an outrageous thing for Bernie to have said at that time, particularly in 2018, particularly specifically about Warren, who had just come off of the whole DNA testing thing. I frankly, I might have said something like that at that point. Not necessarily a woman, but I would have maybe said that to her. I don't know. We don't know what was said in there.
I mean, I'll just say
Okay.
I agree with John that I'm not terribly confident about her making Bernie the nominee if it's down to her at the convention anymore, particularly after this last couple of weeks. I mean, I'm willing for it to happen, and if it happens, I think that's great,
Right.
but I don't count on that at all anymore.
Right. The bottom line is, like, though, that the idea, and you know, nothing else has to happen. Like, you know, I'm not saying people, you tap on the brakes in terms of your support of Bernie. That's not the point. The point is like, I think that's getting sidetracked. If there's a lot more to worry about, I think, you know, the idea is like, get Biden out.
Yeah, I mean, the ultimate goal is to have Bernie win on the first ballot with 1,990 delegates. I mean, that's the ultimate goal, you know. But it's just that, you know, how much of a say will Warren have? And, you know, and maybe they can, you know, mend this, and maybe Warren will come back to Bernie.
Who
because
comes
on
in
policy,
third? If Warren doesn't get those delegates, who gets them?
I mean, they'll probably be mixed around, but I mean, I'm not sure anymore.
Who
I mean,
becomes
who knows?
Is there a kingmaker if Warren doesn't get them?
Well, I don't think there will be. I think that at that point there'll be so few delegates that you know.
You don't think Buttigieg might be around there?
Biden, no, because he's not going to. Where's he going to get delegates at? The only place he's going to get delegates is in Iowa and maybe in Indiana.
All right.
Because I mean, that's the critique I have of Nate Silver's model, is that, you know, he gives so much credit to others in Buttigieg getting delegates. How are they going to get that 15% threshold? The 15% threshold is everything. I mean, and, you know, people aren't talking about it enough. I mean, they have to hit that. Bernie has to hit 15% in every congressional district in the South. He has to get delegates. He cannot have Biden run away in the South and get every delegate. I mean, you know, or he's doomed. You know, he can't have that happen. So he's got to improve on what the polling says now, and hopefully that will happen through all the momentum that he builds in Iowa, in New Hampshire, and in Nevada, and in California. But I mean, a lot of those states, they're all in March. They're all front-ended by the DNC. And, you know, I agree with you on the term rigging, and I agree with you on that. But I mean, this is a form of putting the DNC putting the thumb on the scale by having all these southern states,
right,
you know, front-ended.
I agree. I agree, and hopefully it's something that the Sanders campaign is aware of. I guess my concern is that if Biden is going to be in the race to the end, and the next biggest pool of Bernie voters are supporting Warren, right? My concern is that this notion of attacking Warren on these bases is going to make it harder for Bernie to get those votes.
Yeah. I mean, I think that was her intention. I mean, you see it people on The View. You see, there's like Nomiki Khan said, there's no left media. I mean, you watch MSNBC, you watch CNN, they don't have people on the left.
Besides
you a little bit. But
right.
I mean, not enough.
We'll see, John. We'll have a better
thank you.
notion of this after Iowa, at the very least, as to where things are shaking out. Appreciate the call.
All right, thank you, Sam.
I just think people are just investing a little bit too much into reading this stuff. Maybe